Japan's ruling party has elected Fumio Kishida as its new leader, paving the way for him to become the country's next prime minister. Kishida is a former foreign minister and beat three other candidates to claim the leadership of the Liberal Democratic Party. The 64-year-old will be charged with guiding the world's third largest economy out of the pandemic. Who exactly is the new prime minister? What does he stand for on major issues? Let's bring in an expert in the field. I'm joined by Professor Shiro Armstrong. He's the director of the Australia-Japan Research Centre at the ANU. Shiro Armstrong, thanks for your time. First of all, what do we know about the new Japanese PM?
Yeah, hi, Kieran. Good to be with you. So when Kishida is sworn in as the Prime Minister next week, he'll be the 100th Prime Minister for Japan. He's seen as very much the safe choice. He's seen as a consensus builder within the party, and that's why they chose him over the more popular candidate Kono. And this was really a triumph of elite power brokers within the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. So he'll be tested very quickly, head to the national election, has to be called before the end of November. And he's campaigned really on big spending, that is stimulus to get Japan out of its economic stagnation. And as you mentioned, Kieran, he's a former foreign minister. He was also a defence minister briefly, and recently he's been the party's policy chief. His grandfather and father were both members of the Diet, so no stranger to politics in Japan.
Yeah, indeed. And so let's look at Yoshihide Suga. Why did he not last?
Yeah, Prime Minister Suga's popularity was plummeting, and you could see this coming for a fair while, really. It was mishandling of the COVID pandemic in Japan, and that's on the health front as well, with 5 waves. The last getting bigger and bigger, the last one subsiding just now, but also economically didn't manage the support that was necessary in the economy. So, after 1 year, a little less than 1 year of taking over the helm from Prime Minister Abe, he's had to fall on his sword and resign. He had a bit of trouble, although managed the Olympics very well, and it was a big success for Japan getting through the Olympics during a pandemic. The population, the people in Japan were against holding the Olympics altogether anyway, and his popularity was pretty low.
Will there be any major shift in terms of domestic or foreign policy, particularly I'm thinking in relation to China under the new Prime Minister?
Yeah, I think we can expect continuity and no big changes. So, as I mentioned, he's a safe choice. In fact, he was Abe's foreign minister for a long time. He's the longest serving foreign minister in Japan's post-war period, so the last 70-odd years. So he's stable, and with the Quad, for example, we can expect continuity. Of course, he's strongly locked in, but also on China, interestingly, he's been quite clear, although he's had to play to the right in his base in the LDP on issues like Taiwan, and he's expanding defence spending. A priority for him, he's made clear, is managing that China relationship.
So just to touch on that, something you alluded to earlier, but the period of stability under Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister for a long time. Before him, there was a huge and a high turnover of Prime Ministers over a very quick period. Now, are we returning to a similar scenario here with Suga only in the job for a year or so?
Yeah, Kieran, that's a key question. So before Prime Minister Abe, in the sort of 7 years that Prime Minister Abe had, we had 6 prime ministers in 6 years, a lot of instability in Japan, revolving door prime ministers. So after a period of stability during Abe's time, where of course he was very effective internationally, not as much domestically, but still quite effective compared to the 6 that preceded him, we of course went back to a 1-year prime minister in Suga. So the key question here is whether Kishida can break the mould and return a bit of stability for the next 3 years before he's challenged again within the LDP. And it'll really depend on how Japan recovers from the COVID pandemic economically, as well as keeping the vaccine rate high. The vaccine rollout is a little bit behind us. So they're the key issues we should look for.
Now, Prime Minister Morrison struck up a good rapport with Prime Minister, or for the outgoing Prime Minister Suga, and strong support through the Quad and so on. Will there, in your mind, be continuity there as well?
Yeah, I very much expect so, Kieran. There'll be continuity. And in fact, I think I spoke to you exactly a year ago on this issue, and we were wondering whether there's going to be continuity from Abe to Suga. But again, this is a safe pair of hands in Kishida. And I expect immediately the structure of the relationship is all sound and very close. We've never been closer to Japan, really, in political or strategic terms. And that will carry us through. And of course, I expect the leaders will have a productive relationship, if not a very close relationship going forward. So, as you mentioned, Japan is the third largest economy in the world. It's our second largest trader, and very important relationship for us in managing China, but also managing our other relations in the region. So, look, I think we can expect a close relationship built on the foundations of two countries being so close economically, politically, and strategically.
Professor Shiro Armstrong, thanks so much for joining me from the ANU today. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kieran.